Welcome to Parent Boss Leader, the podcast where we explore leadership and innovation in the staffing industry. Brought to you by ATR International, I'm Laura Munson, an experienced staffing executive and a multitasking busy modern mom, sharing insights to help you lead and empower your team. Tune in, subscribe, and elevate your leadership because building a great team starts with great insight. Hello and welcome to the show, Parent Boss Leader. In this episode, we talk with Bradley Garner, Senior Manager of Talent Acquisition at a defense company, about the evolving landscape of the staffing industry and talent acquisition industry and the transformative impact of AI on recruiting. We'll also delve into Bradley's military background and career journey, highlighting how his experiences have shaped his professional path. Hello, and welcome to Parent Boss Leader, an interactive podcast interviewing leaders across industry about their incredible stories. Some guests are parents, some are not. My name is Laura Munson, your host and the Vice President of Strategic Partnerships at ATR International, a premier staffing firm based in Santa Clara, California. Like and subscribe for more engaging conversations with industry leaders. Brad, welcome to the show. So happy to have you on the podcast.
Thanks, Laura. I really appreciate the opportunity. And that was a fantastic intro. So I might have to drag you around with me more often.
Oh, anytime. I'm here. So let's start. I really would love to hear a little bit about your background so guests can know as well. You're amazing in the TA space, even more amazing with your military background as well. Can you tell us a little bit about your journey, say, even going into the military and how you are in talent acquisition right now?
Sure. So I'm retired Air Force. I did over 20 years active duty. 12 of those years were in recruiting, primarily in the officer space, specialized in the healthcare and engineering kind of opportunities. Worked at the military interest processing station for a while, so anybody that's ever served or gone for the enlistment or commissioning process understands that. So that's really where I cut my teeth in recruiting. But going all the way back for the almost 9 years before I went into recruiting, I've worked at some pretty cool places. You asked where it started. I had every intention to join the Navy. My parents were Navy, brother was Navy, and got stood up twice at the recruiting station, and that's literally how I ended up over at the Air Force office. So my story is a little different than what you hear from other folks because they say they got stood up by the Air Force person. So they were there when I showed up, and left from a small town, Rockwell, North Carolina, and left for service. First duty assignment was the Ballistic Missile Organization in San Bernardino. I got there as a supply guy. I was the lowest ranking enlisted person there at the group. So that was my cut of teeth to learn. I painted a lot of stuff, Laura, a lot of things. I had to paint rocks and all kinds of stuff as the lowest ranking person, but learned a lot about patience, politics, playing the games, how to meet people's expectations, and kind of grow in the military. Did a deployment out of there to Dhahran, Saudi Arabia. Really cool place, Khobar Towers. I had left Khobar Towers a few months before the attack happened there. I had PCS'd or changed duty stations and went to Altus, Oklahoma. There, I kind of got more on the flight line side of things, on the C-17 coming in and some of the other fun activities that happened at a flight squadron, and ended up going my second deployment, and that was Prince Sultan Air Base. So everybody got moved from Dhahran up to Prince Sultan Air Base, and did a lot of really cool stuff on those deployments, driving to Bahrain or headed up to Kuwait. Wow. So really, really neat. Great pictures. I have pictures of me sitting on the bunker busters that were built for Saddam Hussein and all the good things there. So fun time. Then I got transferred over to 74th Fighter Squadron A-10 Group, again on flight line, and just a phenomenal showing. And 2000 came, and they had to recruit the recruiter team. I went and did my testing, and surprisingly was in Canada on TDY when the commander came to me and said, I don't know who you made mad, but you're going into recruiting. So 12 years of recruiting time. So that cuts the military time. After that, I've worked. So it's kind of funny. I'm a get in where you fit in kind of guy. So when I left the Air Force, I was the flight chief over Alaska, Washington, Oregon, and Northern Idaho. and had a great recruiting team that had a couple first, they were number one in the nation recruiters. So I had two back-to-back number one in the nation recruiters. And I got out and came down here from Pacific Northwest to San Diego and got a job at Scripps as a recruiter. So as I mentioned, is get in where you fit in, learn the dynamics, learn how to be not in the military anymore, and went from Scripps Health to a government contractor here locally, and went from there to a not-for-profit. And then I went from there to a FANG company, and worked in technology, and then back to the defense contractor, and somewhere in between had started my own company. So I share that because I think a lot of people get stuck that they get in where they fit in, and then they think that they just got to continue that progression and that's it, and it may take 40 years for them to achieve what they want. So I moved around quite a bit in the 12 years since I retired, to basically teach myself as much as I could about not being in the military anymore and learning as many good practices of leadership outside the uniform.
Yeah. Brad, thank you for your service, number one, and love hearing about your background. It's a wild adventure all over the world. And even your career path has been really interesting from, say, healthcare to defense contractor, your own business, back full circle. But I know you're a force to be reckoned with in your roles as well and extremely strategic. Um, I wanted to pivot a little bit. I come from the staffing industry. You're the talent acquisition recruiting world as well. Our industries overlap with the same end game, place top candidates. But we've seen a lot of changes in recent years. What do you think are some of the most significant shifts you've observed overall in the talent acquisition industry?
Yeah, I think the biggest one I've noticed, and this isn't about my employer specifically, I'm talking about the market as a whole. I'm not sure that we evolved as fast as the feeder tubes for talent. So some of the
Mm-hmm.
challenges I see now on like Easy Apply, for instance, on scrape sites like LinkedIn or Indeed or Monster, you just get so many
Yeah.
candidates into a bucket now. So some of the
Yeah.
jobs that are kind of the lower barrier of entry that have maybe 5 years or less of
Yeah.
experience, right? So there's a lot of people that would fit into that bubble coming
Yeah.
in now, especially in that Gen Z world, right? Where they're going to be the largest workforce come 2025. So we know this is coming and the numbers are there, but it makes it difficult if you want recruiters to actually manually look at and review resumes, it makes it difficult to really get through all those candidates. And then there's
Mm-hmm.
a very wildly varying ideas on what a resume should look like. So,
Mm-hmm.
that makes things a little bit more cumbersome because you are looking for
Mm-hmm.
top talent. And we don't want to lose anybody because of a resume, if that makes
Yeah.
sense. I want to make sure that we're diving
100%.
in. So that's a
Mm-hmm.
big one. Technology, you know, when businesses buy these suites for business suites, it feels like the
Yeah.
applicant tracking system is always like the last thing they think about. They've got payroll sorted out, they've got the
Yeah.
HRS systems, the human resources information systems all figured
Uh-huh.
out. And then they go, oh, to sell this whole package as a business suite, we're going to grab an applicant tracking system. And they just grab it
Yes.
and it feels super cobbled
Afterthought.
together.
Yeah.
Right. And it doesn't
Mm-hmm.
work. And then we run into the same thing when we work with our staffing partners.
Mm-hmm.
Their systems don't work across hours, and it just feels very disjointed and tough. So I think that one of the biggest challenges in one, not leaving anybody on the field, finding that top talent in that bucket and making sure that you give the best possible candidate experience for everybody while also finding that top person. And then the
Yeah.
biggest one that I see is the technology and some of the resistance to that technology. And that's in the
Yeah.
market. That's again not specific to me, but just things that I noticed that feels like we've kind of
Yeah.
lost that human connection a little bit.
Wow. I love how you answered that question. I often think when I think of the new dawn that we're in, do you remember the song back in the day? It was Video Killed the Radio
Yes.
Star. Well, so much of the way we used to do things doesn't work now. And as you're mentioning, the applicant tracking systems, like some of them talk, some of them don't, and they're clunky. And the next question I want to ask is looking forward, and even though it's on us now, where things are going. AI is really transforming recruiting in a lot of ways. It's an excellent tool for recruiters. You can't replace the EQ, the emotional intelligence within recruiting teams, and there's such a need for that. Can you discuss a little bit about how AI is currently being used in the defense industry, perhaps, and what future developments you anticipate?
Yeah, I think that's a fantastic question. It's super complex for as short as that question was. So on the
Right?
candidate experience side, I think it's phenomenal. We're getting better resumes going through AI. People are
Mhm.
able to tailor resumes faster. So again, going back to if you know that 100 people are going to apply to a job in the first 24 hours and you want to be
Mhm.
in that top 20, right, to get looked at, and then you're
Yeah.
tailoring a resume, I would argue we probably spend far too much time on our resumes that people just are you have a million people look at it and things like that,
Yeah.
whereas AI now, instead of sending your resume around, can really
Yeah.
kind of click through it, tell you, hey, have you thought about this? It can, as long as you understand the prompting on it. So from the candidate, I think that helps. I know that you can use AI to build bots that help you apply faster and apply to jobs. So there's that piece of it. So I think the candidate side of the thing is being adopted very quickly, and it's being used right now today. It's still their
Yeah.
information, right? They're not
Yeah.
lying about anything, but they're just compartmentalizing it. Take the job
Yeah.
description, lay it over, and say, make sure my
Yeah.
resume matches, and it tells you where you mismatch.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, on the business side, we're not using it. I'm sure that there's other defense contractors aren't using it. There's other companies, and I think that that's where some of our opportunities lie. Because how do I know I'm getting to the top talent? If I get over the weekend, I get 500 candidates in there, and an average in-house recruiter probably runs between 30 and 45 recs. And I know that's a wide range, but if you think about it,
Yeah.
they're going to ebb and flow. But you got 35, let's say you got 30 recs. And out of
Mhm.
30 requisitions, you may have 20 different hiring managers. And of that, you
Mhm.
got 5 different executives. So there's a lot of customers on the inside to have
Yeah.
500 per requisition in there. So you can imagine clicking through that, it starts to build a little bit, and it's maybe feel a little bit it's harder to get through those. And that's why we always talk about your resume above the
Mhm.
fold. I know
Mhm.
that's an old newspaper term, but you're only seeing the top half of a resume when it opens in the applicant tracking system. And a
Mhm.
candidate's whole job is to make them scroll. Your goal is to make them scroll. And so once a recruiter scrolls at one time, they're invested in that resume now. So
Yeah.
you're already winning as far as that first step, right? That's your first
Yeah.
down. You've got
Yeah.
them scrolling and reading your resume. And that kind of bit piece and part, I guess, is where some of the bigger challenges are on the business side. So where I think it can help us sourcing candidates. So you know how you get, if you get a rejection letter and it says we'll maintain your record on file, and I always tell people that doesn't mean at any of the companies I've worked at and anything that I've consulted for on the outside as well, they don't have file cabinets. They just go and they're going to go to all the G's and they pull it out and all the M's and they're going to say this is
Yeah.
our top talents, right? We do
Yep.
Boolean searches inside there, so keyword
Yep.
searches in the system to try to find the top talent. And I would argue, so if you tailored your resume to that one job, am I going to find you for an adjacent job? I may not, because now your
Yep.
keywords don't match. But in
Mhm.
I go do a search through AI with that, and it looks through the 250,000 candidates that I have in my applicant tracking system. And I say,
Yeah.
give it 10 that have adjacent skills. It instantly brings all those names up to the top.
Yeah.
That I think is going to be the secret sauce to help with candidate refinement,
Yeah.
pipelining, staying in touch with candidates, because AI can provoke you a little bit more like, hey, Brad, you haven't responded to Laura in 2 days. She's
Yeah.
awaiting feedback.
Yeah.
Cool. I can remember because
Yep.
I think most recruiters have a little bit of that, the next shiny thing, the first person yelling, whatever it is, and we kind of can lose that sight of just staying focused, whereas a little reminder. So I think that that's going to help. And then
Mhm.
finally, I think it's going to be the actual interview cycle, really providing summaries. So we all do recruiters that have been in this game for a little while do summaries when we send candidates forward for a hiring manager to review. Why Laura, for instance, is the best candidate. And then here's the
Mhm.
4 others that I think are also silver medalists, or they're right there with Laura. You got to interview.
Mhm.
Imagine AI can do that instantly for every one
Yeah.
of those resumes. That's
Yeah.
just it's going to make things faster, it's going to make it cleaner, and it's going to really get candidates back the responses they deserve so that they don't kind of feel like they're sitting out there in that black hole and waiting. I know that's what we strive for. Our recruiters review 95% plus of
Mm-hmm.
all resumes that come in. That's a massive test. 12-month period. That means each recruiter is probably looking at 6,000 resumes, and then 12.
Yeah.
So they're diving in and doing it, but at what point do we just acknowledge maybe some eyewash comes about that and we're not seeing things? AI also remove bias.
Mm-hmm.
So what I love about it, I've seen some cool things where AI, you can set it up to help you on pronunciation of a
Mm-hmm.
name. Somebody may be nervous to make a phone call because they don't want to mispronounce somebody's name, right? They fall back on Dale Carnegie and the sweetest sound is somebody's name. And so
Yeah.
I think some of those things it's going to help us resolve that and really make this process cleaner, but it's going to take some time for us to get there. Even though if you read all the social media sites, they seem to think all this is very well ingrained and already built out. And I
Yeah.
know there's pockets of it, but it is
Mm-hmm.
not a critical mass like I think that the outside community thinks it is.
Yeah, no, well answered. And I love the little slogan you came up with for candidates for now. The goal is to scroll. You want the
That's right.
recruiters, hiring managers to be scrolling. It's true. I love that. And with I think there can be such a useful way that it helps us. I love that nudging to respond because that's probably one of the biggest complaints. I see it all the time on social media. The recruiter never got back to me.
Yeah.
And just nudges for a response would be excellent. So AI, yes, definitely offers a lot of benefits. It's definitely going to be offering even more over the next couple of years, but competing with AI, the still human personal touch in recruiting as we staff companies, what do you think is the balance between AI and really needing a personal human recruiter to be finding top talent?
Yeah, I think it kind of goes with when you hear people go, "Oh, we're going to have pilotless airplanes soon that passengers are on," and I'm like, I want to see who
Yeah.
buys the
Ugh.
ticket, right? Right? There's
Yeah.
theories behind it, and I get that we
Yeah.
went through that evolution with cars and radios and telephones, and I mean,
Yeah.
I acknowledge all that and I understand that,
Yeah.
but to your point, the human element, this is people. So there's major things that happen in people's life, whether it's moving, whether it's marriage, divorce, right? And then there's changing jobs. And that's a
Yeah.
massive piece that's there. And they're going to want to interact with a recruiter. They're going to want to know what the culture of the business is. They're going to want to really understand what that salary means and what the benefits are. And I don't feel, and I don't see this anywhere near on the horizon. I just don't see AI being anywhere close to being able to answer those questions real time. The inflection in your voice, the understanding, getting people excited and refocusing on the big picture. I don't see AI doing that, overcoming objections,
Mhm.
understanding the drawback, heard, understood, acknowledging it with the candidates. So the recruiters that really aren't, and there's a subset of recruiters that are behind keyboards
Mhm.
and they'll send pre-screen questions to a candidate to fill out and send back to them, right? And they don't do a
Uh,
lot of that human interaction.
yeah.
They don't know the need behind the need on that candidate. And
Yeah.
sometimes, I mean, I'm sure you've done this too, Laura, that there's sometimes a
Mhm.
candidate is applying to a role. I find out a lot about that candidate and they really want this job. And I'm like, have you considered this other area?
Mhm.
Because I need you to understand what this job entails. And you lay it out and they go, wow, that is not at all what I thought that job was.
Mhm.
AI is not going to do that. AI is not going to
Mhm.
look out for the best interests of the candidate in that sense because it doesn't know unless you
Yeah.
tell it that it's not going to know that.
Yeah.
So I think that human interaction, the recruiters, the bonding that we have, I mean, how great it is when you find a good recruiter and your candidates trust you. I get
Yeah.
calls from employees at
Yes.
companies I've worked at before, and they'll call me and go, "Hey, I'm
Yes.
looking for a job in this area." Still at that company, I'm not a recruiter there, but they
Yeah.
call and go, "What do you think? Is this a good career
Yeah.
move? Is this too
Yes.
much of a lattice?" And I think
Yep.
that's not going to go away. You're not going to get that from a machine.
No, it's true. It's the white glove service. And I think it's nail on the head. When a recruiter offers that white glove service, either A, they want to work with your company because they say, wow, what a great culture over there. Or coming from the staffing side, when we have candidates who really appreciate and respect our recruiters, they're very loyal to the recruiter and
Yes.
trust where we're sending them for job opportunities. So very well said. Brad, you lead a team of 11 technical and specialized talent acquisition specialists. How do you foster an atmosphere of open communication and team cohesiveness in both remote and in-office environments?
Yeah, so they're work from home a little bit. We're not on remote anymore, but how do you foster it? It is a touch point challenge. So you have to stay in contact with them. Got to call them just because we do weekly one-on-ones, so it's a big deal to stay in touch with people, let them share their concerns, let them tell you what's going on, good, bad, and different. And then to me, I do like to sometimes get us together in a team environment. So we'll have dates that we bring everybody in, we have a
Yeah.
conversation. I like success stories, so I like to share
Yep.
success day when people all gets together and all they can talk about, they don't get to talk
Mhm.
about. We got 1,000 things that we could say are going wrong in recruiting because
Yep.
any recruiter is going to tell you, as you know, that you hear no a lot more than you say yes. Because I see a lot of those things that candidates say about recruiters online, and I laugh
Yeah.
and I'm that is one or two recruiters. You should see how many hundreds of
Yeah.
candidates are upset because if 100
Yeah.
people apply to a job, 99 are going to be upset no matter what I
Mhm.
do. No matter how
Mhm.
good I am, 99 are going to be upset because they're not going to get the job, right? So I
Mhm.
think that, fostering it is just giving them that outlet, being there when they mess up and be like, hey, how are we going to navigate and get forward, supporting them.
Yeah.
I'm a big advocate for serving as a Kool-Aid man. No recruiter
Mhm.
should have to deal with barriers, so I run through the walls for them, and then they just have to
Mhm.
step over a couple of bricks to get there. Things like that I think is what makes it important and keeps everybody together. I do feel that recruiting lost a little bit of its secret sauce during COVID time. And for so many people to go out and go remote, I think we
Mhm.
brought new people into recruiting that didn't get to learn from hearing somebody do cold calls,
Yes, it's
what
true.
emails look like. So we lost some of
Mhm.
that. And you don't, that need behind the need adventure, really diving in to know somebody, I think you lose that because you don't get to hear
Mhm.
somebody else do it. And it feels
Yeah.
awkward when we do a video
Mhm.
call with a new candidate and they're
Mhm.
over in the corner is the new recruiter and they're like, why is there two recruiters here? That kind of stuff. So I think we lost some of it. And the best way to do it is stay
Yeah.
engaged, keep bringing them,
Yep.
keep them face to face where you can. When I worked
Yep.
at one of the main companies, we had a phenomenal team environment and it was all remote, but
Mm.
it was very much when the cameras were on, the picture was
Mm.
on because I believe
Yeah.
that drives human interaction.
Yep.
Imagine doing a presentation to a room full of people and they had bags on their head.
Oh yeah.
How,
But yeah.
how would you know if
It,
they're getting the message? Are they accepting the
Mhm.
message? Are they happy with what you're saying? Do you need to tone it back? You don't know. And that's the same thing when I look at a screen with 50 different pictures on it or covers on it. And it's just initials or a headshot. And the person, I don't know what's happening on the other end. And it kind of
Yeah.
just, are you hearing the message? Am I saying something wrong? Can I deliver this better? And that's where
Yep.
that information, I think, helps once in a while, which is what we did at that Fang company. But it was a little retail shop called Amazon. But it's things like that we did that were, I think, drives that good collaboration and teamwork.
Amazing. I love that. And I love what you said about camera on. I think sometimes there can be different cultures within companies where cameras off, but you're right. It does drive when you don't have the option to be in person, or we're talking across the United States now. It does help with the connection. You could see if the person's smiling or not amused with what you're
Right,
saying or completely
right.
disengaged. It definitely helps. So, Brad, you remain committed to helping military veterans. I mean, I even saw you at the San Diego Military Summit a couple weeks back. Can you share a little bit about some of maybe your initiatives or programs you've implemented to support the mission to help veterans find roles?
No, I appreciate you asking that. So it's transitioning military veterans and mil spouses are definitely my passion. I am so passionate about it, not just because I served, but I think we just have a massive misunderstanding of that background in the market today. And I think that a lot of people attribute, they go, oh, you got a military retirement. Well, that is not sit around at home and chill and watch TV all day kind of money, right? So, and mil spouses really have a soft part because they spend so much time
Yeah.
apologizing. They
Mm,
move every 2.5 years. They're like, I'm sorry, my resume looks like this. It's like, stop. Own
Yeah.
it. Know that you're a chameleon. Know that
Yep.
that you've adapted to all these different environments. Like understand your superpower.
Mm.
So I really focus on it, not because we're the only ones that have imposter syndrome. It's just you got to be focused, right? And so that is my area of focus on there. Initiatives I started have been, I spend a lot of time educating anybody that will listen of what the value is as of a military member. Now, I'm not going to go through the talk tracks that are commonly out there, but what I always look
Mhm.
about it, number one, they're human beings, they're looking for meaningful work. And I believe that we can help a lot with the suicide rates in the military by actually making sure people are finding meaningful work. I think that's all humans want. They just want to have meaningful work, make a decent sum of money so that they can pay
Yeah.
their bills, take care of their
Yep.
families, and just be
Yes.
right? I mean, sure,
Yes.
everybody can aspire to be rich. I mean, everybody
Yeah.
can have that. But in reality, I just want to know that I don't have to make a decision between tank of gas or food for my family. Like that's all
Yeah.
I'm simple, right? And so when you look at it, you kind of talk to people about the value they bring and understanding. At the
Mhm.
company I currently work at, for instance, they're so open. Managers are so open to listening how somebody's experience will come across. And that's for everybody. Like, what are
Yeah.
the adjacent skills that are going to help them? Because at the end of the day, a manager wants to hire somebody that's going to help them be successful, right? That's what they're
Yeah.
looking for. And
Hmm.
I think that that's where my passion comes from, is to help with skill bridge programs on transitioning military veterans to
Hmm.
be understood on their career lattice and why
Hmm.
they're looking at project management, but they don't have this linear path in their life of I went to this high school with this and then this college and then this is my project manager, this and this. Instead, you got to understand how to read into that, how to move them
Yeah.
across on their resume so that they're just
Yeah.
considered for a role that they're actually qualified for. So that's where my passion lies. And mil
Yes.
spouses make the world go round. So I am like so pushed on helping them out because I really do feel that they get overlooked in this process a lot.
Yeah. No, amazing. Thank you for sharing your passion. And I've seen you in action over the years. We met even when you were in the healthcare environment
Yeah.
and seeing how much you promote military spouses. It's incredible what you're doing. Thank you so much for sharing your insights today, Brad. Your experience in recruiting, AI, commitment to supporting the military. It's definitely inspiring to me and many people listening. And to our listeners, thank you for joining us. Remember to subscribe to Parent Boss Leader for more enlightening conversations with industry leaders. Join us next time for another engaging discussion with the remarkable leader. Brad, thank you for being on today.
Thanks, Laura. I really appreciate the opportunity.